شو الفرق؟ ما بيضغط عليكم مسافة والله فين هو المدير العام؟ نطلع؟
احنا على الفور صار لي ساعة. الكاميرا ما بتشتغل. بعت لك التكست بعت لي بسم الله. هي شغالة ولا لا؟
كل شيء شغال.
هاي. يا رب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا به قولي. لا اله الا الله العزيز الحكيم لا اله الا رب العرش العظيم محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The Shaykh as usual start with his famous dua, asking Allah to accept from us and to bless our gathering and to protect us from any evil. Ameen. 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 This is a lecture about an important issue. We start with Allah saying there is no good in a lot of their calling or their dua unless for those who made a charity or goodness or giving good deeds. And Allah said when you make dua for good, don't make it on something that cuts your kinships, make it on goodness. The tests are flooding our ummah everywhere, especially in political issues. There is no end to it. But the wise people, these disputes should be limited to its areas. It should not go down from the leadership to the people. If there is two political issue between two countries, is it wise that everybody in that country start having the same dispute? It's not right. You don't accept this on the political issue that you live in. You disagree in the leadership and the way they deal with the East countries, but you don't mix between the leadership and the population of America, because they are good people, they are good, and we did not mix between the political status and the status of the people. And the rule in every book, wasn't he told what's in the books of Ibrahim and all the other books, that no soul will hold the burden of the other one, and at the day of judgment no soul should bear what the other one did. No one will be accountable for the crime of the other. We are not like those who worship somebody else beside Allah. Allah did not, when they claim that Allah is cursing the whole humanity because of Adam, and he to salvate people that he give his own son. This is all nonsense. This story that people are making as a religion instead of an ideology for salvation. Allah the Almighty, Allah has free the Muslims from that, and all those with the righteousness, with the wisdom, not to indulge into these kind of illusions. This is a polluted ideas. It's not even a belief, because people should always concern about controlling the dispute, no matter where it happens, and they don't allow it to pollute the relationship between others. We as Muslims, we are one nation, we are one people, one population. Allah said fitna is worse than killing. We know that Allah said that He have taken us from the issues of al-jahiliyyah, which is you are very arrogant, where you just talk about your forefathers and where they came from, what color they are, instead of who you are. Allah took that from us, so you're either a believer, a pure, where he don't care anyone else, nothing will harm him, nothing will benefit him, or he'll be a rebellious and a bad, and it's not going to make a difference where he's from. Allah said Tabbat yada Abi Lahab wa tab, so his relationship to the Prophet ﷺ has nothing to do with it, and his wealth has nothing to do with him. So Allah showed his status, where Salman al-Farisi, Allah has put his status high, and his status very high, because he's great in the sight of Allah. The real win is when you are moved from the hellfire and enter the heaven. This is the true enjoyment. This is the true winning. So how do we deal with the political scene? Simply, it's very, very simple. It's Allah ordered us to obey in the things that are good, in the obedience, and disobey the things that are a sin. If your father is ordering something, hate what your father is doing, and if the leader is doing something good, then whatever he does, if it is not obedience of Allah, it's at least hate that action. Abu Bakr said, help me as long as I'm ordering you with what Allah ordered us to do, and straighten me if I made a mistake. And the weak is very strong in here until I take his right back, and the strong is weak until I take all his the rights of others from him. The Islam always want to bring harmony in the community, want to bring peace and tranquility in the society, in the nation, and that's part of the principles of it. And I will give you an example that you probably heard it several times. Maybe this time it will seek into your soul. Shas ibn Qais is a Jewish old man. He's an old man, and he hated Islam, and he was very envious of them. He passed by companions of the Prophet ﷺ from the Aus and Khazra in a place where they were gathering and talking. Before the migration of the Prophet ﷺ, they have the Battle of Ba'ath, where the two tribes, they hit each other, or fought each other. It was the bloodiest battle between them. When the Prophet ﷺ came to them, Allah brought them together, and they became brothers. Allah said in the Quran, remember Allah's bounty when you were enemies and He made your heart, soften your heart with each other, and you were on the edge of the fire and Allah saved you. That's how Allah showed you your signs, so you might be guided. So this old man, this old Jewish man, he was very angry and envy. He did not like what this. And the Jews, they have both the tribes, they divide themselves between the two tribes, Aus al Khazraj, and they wanted to always entice hatred between the two tribes, and the other one do the same thing to keep them fighting all the time. So he sent a young man, and he told them to go and remind them some of the what happens in the Battle of Ba'ath, and some of the poetry they used to use. And at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the media is all through poetry. So when this young man will sit down between them and to remind them of some of the poetry that was said at the time of that Battle of Ba'ath, of course this will have a great effect on them. So each tribe, each one, they start fighting with each other, and they almost start fighting, and they kept saying, we'll start the war now. And they were both angry, and they both went to their weapons. So they all went to an area, they agreed on Al-Harrath, and then the Prophet ﷺ learned about what happened. So he went out for them from his companions until he came to them. He said, oh Muslims, Allah, with the call of the Jahiliyyah you're doing, and I'm between you, after Allah guided you to Islam and honored you with Islam, and took this matter of Jahiliyyah and took you from the disbelief, and you want to go back to disbelievers. Don't become disbelievers where you hit each other and kill each other. So immediately they knew it says from the shaitan, so they throw their weapons and they start crying and they start hugging each other. Then they left with the Prophet ﷺ obeying, and Allah distinguished the hatred in the heart of Shas ibn Qais. The point here that Islam is always wanted to kill the call for the time of ignorance and people to gather on dispute, and always want to bring people to be together, not to disperse them, not to have fighting between them. And to love the Muslim is not something extra. No, it is obligatory. Allah said, you will not enter Jannah until you believe, and you're not going to believe until you love each other. So to enter Jannah, you have to love each other. So it's not a joke. It's not something you do on the side. You have to, if you find anything in your heart of hatred or animosity toward anyone, immediately cure yourself, immediately clean your heart, because you should remember Allah's Messenger said, you will not enter Jannah until you believe, and not believe until you love each other. And the Prophet ﷺ said, let me tell you about something, if you do, it will bring love to each other. It said, spread the salam, the greetings between you. So the Prophet ﷺ taught us that if the leader did something, you hate what he's doing wrong, but you still obey him unless what he's ordering you is something against what Allah told you. And he said, the best among you, the worst leader, the one that you hate and they hate you, and you curse them and you curse them. And he was told, oh, shouldn't we fight them? He said, no, as long as you establish the prayers, whomever had a leader and he did a sin, let him hate what he is sinning with, and do not stop the obedience. But at the same time, you have to be equal and fair between the two sides. You have people who have nothing except praising the leaders, no matter what happened, and to make it all good, no, whether it's good or bad, whether it is true or false. There is some people, we see them every day, and the other extreme, who make the leaders are disbelievers in every, for the minor sins they might commit, and not looking into what this can cause and what is legitimate and what's not legitimate, what is rumor, what is false. And in between, there is the medium that is lost because they are being pulled to each extreme. Listen to this hadith. You will be leaders. Whomever help them in their aggression and oppression, or believe them and support them, he is not from me and I'm not from him, and he will not be around my fountain at the day of judgment. The one who said that is the Prophet ﷺ. Whomever enter those leaders who are oppressors and believe their lies and supported them and helped them, he is not from me and I'm not from him, and he will not be around me at the fountain. And whomever did not support them, did not help them, he is among me, and he will enter my fountain to drink from my fountain at the day of judgment. And any person who is held the matters of 10 people and up, his hands will be wrapped around his neck, his justice will free him, and he will be thrown in the hellfire with his oppression. So being in a leadership position, it comes a responsibility. The day of judgment, and this leadership, it is regret, and it is a great torment at the day of judgment. The first thing is criticize, and then regret, and the end it is a great punishment from Allah, except whomever is just. And in the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, the Prophet ﷺ went out, and we were still in the masjid after Isha, and he looked in the heavens and lowered it, and we thought something happened in the heavens. He said, indeed, you're going to have leaders after me who will transgress and they will lie. Whomever believe them and help them in their aggression and oppression, he is not from me and not from them. And who did not believe them and did not support them, then he is from me and he will, and I'm from him. Ameen. Ameen. There was one issue left, that the Muslims, scholars all over the centuries, they always wanted to have the true advice to the leaders. Look at this story. One of the scholars, he said, if I had a good dua that will be accepted, I will make it to the leader. It is actually Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad who said this, not Ahmad ibn Hanbal. A lot of people say it is Ahmad ibn Hanbal, but it is Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad. Because if I made it, it will barely cover. But if I made it to a leader, it will be cover the whole ummah and among the ummah. Because if the leader is corrupted, then the whole nation is corrupted. But if he is on the straight path, the whole population will be on the straight path. So someone heard the Fudayl ibn Iyad saying it, and he said, I heard the Fudayl ibn Iyad, he said, if I had a dua that's going to be answered, I will not make it except for the leader. They said, how could that be? He said, whenever I make it on myself, barely is cover me, if get whatever I need. But if I made it for the Imam, then his goodness is goodness for the whole nation. They said, how? Explain that to me. What do you mean? That if the leader is good, then the whole people will be good. And he said, the goodness of the country, if people are safe from the transgression of the Imam, they will build in the country. And this is, if you look at the economics indicators nowadays, if there is no stability, no one will invest. Investment is always where there is stability. So whenever that brings stability, that brings economic prosperous. So people will build and invest in the country, which will bring more labor and bring more goodness into the country. And this is like in the country, they're saying this is in the country, but to build the land or to make it fertilize it, it is good. The Sheikh is saying from linguistic point of view, the word istimar, which means colonization, it has a bad reputation. The word istimar should be in a good, which means to build the community, to build the land, mean to plant it, to take it from nothing to full of plants. At the day of judgment, the Prophet ﷺ said, if the day of judgment is about to start and you have like a seed in your hand, then if you can plant it, go ahead and do it. What about the people, the population? Then the leader, he will look at the people of ignorance, that what they spend on getting the money, the leader, if he is righteous, he would like to spread knowledge, so he bring the scholars, the students. If they made them to spend their time in knowledge, so instead of them going to work, if we leave them to learn, then science will spread, then people will go back to Allah and know how to implement it. And then he say to the man, look, you have what is good for you, teach these people. And then he will bring teachers and specify money for them, buildings. So this is part of the correctness of the society. So employing teachers, it's part of building this society, building the land that Allah has put us, trusted us in. Allah love to see the Muslims to invest in this land and to use the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ from the science of religion, because the scholars, they are the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ, and nothing comes out of their mouth except that beautiful knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ did not inherit anything or money to his family, but he left this religion. And to dedicate yourself to teach others, this is great. This is where you spread the light everywhere. Where the leader, if he did good, he have goodness that nobody in that population can do, because of course of the capability he has. But if he transgressed and oppressed, he is worse than anyone. How many times we've seen leaders who do wrong to millions of people in one ink from the pen. So no transgressors who will not have someone who's more oppressive, more aggressor than him. Allah said, don't think that Allah is not aware of the transgressors. Indeed, He is just giving them, is waiting on them to the day that there is no running away. And whomever do wrong, he will be getting a great punishment. Because those who did wrong, at the day of judgment, they wish they have everything on heaven and earth and more of it in gold, so they could free themselves at the day of judgment, and they will not, and they can't. So Ibn Mubarak, when he heard this and he kissed his forehead, he said, "Oh teacher of goodness, who can do this better than you? Oh teacher of goodness, who can say better than you? No one can." The point here, at the time of tests from Allah and the spread of the disputes, and when it comes to political, let this dispute become between the leaders and not let the population themselves be. Now, if a Turkish person and an Egyptian person, if there is a dispute between the two countries, why we should, as human beings, as neighbors, as civilized people, why should we fight together? And with all of this bad indication between Turkey and Egypt, the economic trade is more than 4 billion. They said, let the individual, the way they calculate it, that lets the dispute between the leaders and not bring the population to get in between. So leave the leaders to what their calculations. We ask Allah to guide them and to bring them the goodness and to help them from the evil of their souls. But I should not bring the political dispute between countries, so we could pollute our relationship between each other, and we start hurting each other with certain statements. For us, it is the social media that has no source. If not, at least it is the news of Fusaq. You know, in the Quran, Allah said, "Oh, you believe, if a bad person came to you with the news, don't do wrong to others, so you will not regret what you're doing." I mentioned 2 days ago that someone sent me a letter. He said, "Look, to the Israeli national anthem, and this is something that is sung in front of you know, some very bad words about how they're going to kill the Muslims and to put their spears." So I changed this to a person who knows how to understand Hebrew, and he put the right. None of that was in there. This is not to defend the Israelis, but in that part it is not true. There's falsehood in the message that if I said, "May Allah kill Pharaoh," he is the one who who made Adam got out of heaven. Yes, Pharaoh is a bad person, but he did do this part about Adam. He was not even created when Adam was in Jannah, and Hawa was not even in Jannah. So if you say something, make sure you say something just, even if it is for someone who's close, and with Allah's covenant, fulfill. The point is, always seek the truth, and don't bring the political issues and make it a dispute of the people. Let the countries fight, do whatever their They have their choices, we have ours. Our choice is to be one united ummah, one united nation, following the Prophet ﷺ, and we are addressed with the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, where we are as one body, just like the building, each part will help each other. And just like one body, that if one part is sick, then the rest of the body stays up all night and have fever. And also at the time of fitna, people are sitting on this social media 20 hours or more, and they hear from here and from YouTube, and they hear everything that's going to bring hatred in the soul. And everybody will be like a balloon about to explode. So it is that right that you just keep listening to the news 24 hours, and especially when it comes from unreliable sources. And this is widely available in WhatsApp and all the social media. If it comes to you, it's fine, but not to make that your program day and night, as if you are making tasbih. Don't sit 24 hours listening to the news. That's going to bring depression and make you full of things that's going to make you explode. And sometimes you don't even know the sources and whether it is just statements that you are receiving. Even the pictures are very altered. From Photoshop, you can see how it is. Somebody sent me a picture of my picture on a body of someone who is very, and I looked at myself, I said, that's me. He took my face with my neck on a naked person, bodybuilder. How did this happen? People could not say it's me. If I wanted to, at least I'll take my hat. But the Photoshop is widely available for everyone. So don't give all your time to just listen to the news. It's very important that you know that leaving the news at the times of fitna, that was what the companions of the Prophet ﷺ did. Mutarraf ibn Abdullah, he used to say, I stayed of the fitna of Ibn Zubair 6 or 7. I didn't say nothing, nor did I get any news for about anything. So I say 6 or 9. I never gave any news, nor did I received any news. Sulaiman ibn Yasar said that Abi Usaid, he used to have friends, so he could not see before Uthman was killed. And when Uthman was killed, he said, Alhamdulillah, who gave me my sight so I could look at my sight to the Prophet ﷺ. And when Allah took the Prophet ﷺ and he wanted the fitna in his servants, I cannot see, so I won't participate in this fitna. The point that we need to do our best to verify whatever we hear. Allah gave you one tongue and 2 ears, so listen, and so you can listen half of what you're saying. Both of them are capable of receiving, and it is enough lying that a person will talk about everything he has heard. And remember, when we sit in the street, Allah said, don't talk about hatred and the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ. And the fitna will explode in the heart. a shaitan will easily can whisper and start a war between people. Indeed, the najwa from the shaitan to make people depressed. Again, there is nothing good in a lot of their dua, to sit down and talk silently, except for someone who orders charity or goodness, or to correct between people. And this is the recipe of the good people, who may Allah protect us from every fitna, inshallah, from whether exposed and coming. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.